Good morning, YouTube friends. This morning I'm going to give you a hint on some healthy eating, how to make what I call Eggies. They're high in protein, they're quick, good breakfast that will satisfy, and I want to give you a little hint of how to do it. So welcome to Life with Karen. Let's get started. Okay, for these Eggies that we're going to make, there's a few things you need. You need a muffin tin. I have my pink sea salt. I like to use the whole pepper that I grind myself. I like to use onion flakes. I have 2 eggs, some sage, a little crushed pepper to give it a little kick, and some garlic powder. I have my fork for whisking the eggs. I have my measuring cup that I'm going to put the eggs in. Baker's Joy, this is to spray the pan with to keep it from sticking. I have my bacon I'm going to use. I'm also going to add some spinach. I love spinach. And some cherry tomatoes. I'm going to chop them up. Today I'm going to use my Pampered Chef knife. Now, just a little hint right here. I have my, this is the container I had my spinach in. And so what I've done is I'm turning it into a little mini greenhouse over here. When I buy my eggs, I try to get them in the carton that can be reusable. I cut the carton, put it down in here. Now in the next few days I'm gonna get some soil and put in there, and I'm gonna take some of my red bell pepper seeds and put them down there and get them started to get ready to put in the garden. I'll put the top back on it. I'll sit it over my grow light so that it can get some sunlight and start sprouting, and then in a little while they'll be ready to put in the garden. So that's just a little quick tip there. Okay, first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our I'm going to take this bacon and I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to layer it around the pan. Okay, here we go. I take the bacon. And this is restaurant bacon. It's very thin bacon. I take the bacon and I take and put it in the cupcake liner or muffin tin and wrap it around so that it covers the whole pan. I don't know if you can see that. I find the thinner bacon works better. Try not to overlap it too much. But I line the pan so that it comes up the edge of the side and the bottom is covered. If you don't cover all the bottom, it's okay. I try to, because I don't like for my egg to seep through it and stick to the bottom of the pan. Okay, now here's another piece of bacon. I'm going to wrap this one. Like I said, I like to put the fat part down in the pan. I put the fat part down. It just adds the juice in it. Sometimes I've even put it up, so it works either way, whichever your preference is. It doesn't really matter. And one more. Like I said, the thin bacon tends to do better. It stretches out better. I have used the thick bacon, so you can use thick bacon if that's what you have. You don't have to use thin bacon. It just tends to cook better with the thin bacon. Okay. Now this recipe, I just kind of changed it up a little bit, but it was one similar on a keto diet. It's for the high protein and the high fat. Okay, so there's my tin. Now I'm going to take my eggs and crack my eggs. Let's move the bacon over. I'm going to take my eggs and crack my eggs. Like I said, I'm using 2 eggs. Okay, and I'm going to whisk them real quick. Whisk those eggs. Just take that fork, go around. I'm going to add, like I said, I like to add a little bit of garlic powder. As you've seen in my earlier videos, I do like sage with my eggs, so I put a little bit of sage, not too much, not too little. Don't ask me how much, because I don't know. Onion flakes. Normally I would use, sometimes I cut up real onions, sometimes I use the onion flakes, just depends on what I'm doing and how quick I want to get it done. I also use, I use garlic powder this time, but most of the time I use fresh garlic. I happen to drop my jar of garlic. So then I'm going to stir that around. I like to grind the whole pepper because I like for it to have the big pepper flakes in it. I'm gonna grind up some pepper real quick. A lot of pepper, actually. I love pepper. And then I have some of the pink sea salt that I'm gonna sprinkle just a little bit in there. Not a lot. Okay. Now, I'm gonna stir that up and set that over to the side for a minute. Okay, now I have on my cutting board, I have some spinach and some cherry tomatoes. Now I'm gonna take the cherry tomatoes and slice them in half. I could probably quarter them because they've gotten a little soft. I'll just cut them in half. Okay. This knife doesn't seem to be as sharp as it used to be. Maybe I've gotten used to using those forged in the fire and the new ones I just got, so it's kind of changed a bit. Okay, I kind of chopped and smushed those up a little bit. I also have my spinach that I'm going to put in. I love spinach. You know I love spinach. Spinach goes almost in everything I eat. I love spinach, especially at breakfast. So I'm going to give this a quick little rough chop. Chop it up. I probably have a little more spinach than what I need for this. So sometimes I just take it, grab a handful, and shove it in my mouth. Okay, now something else. Okay, something else I use, I add cheese. I like to add the cheese to it, so I'm gonna add some cheese. Now what I do is I take my tin, I'll put some spinach in it, just pop a little spinach in each one. I have, when I didn't have spinach, I've actually taken green peas and put in. I love green peas too. And people say, green peas for breakfast? That's weird. Well, maybe. I don't know. I like green peas. Look at there, I used all my spinach. Didn't have too much after all. Just shove it down in there. Put it down in your little muffin tin. And put a little bit in this, a little more. Okay, now I have my tomatoes. I'm gonna put a couple of tomatoes in each one and spread that around. I know you can't see my head, it's okay. All right, and I'm gonna move this out of the way. So now I have my muffin tins like this with the bacon, the spinach, and the cherry tomatoes. Now I'm going to also take, I have some cheese. I like to use pepper jack, but I'm out, so I'm just gonna use regular cheese. I don't try to put a whole lot of cheese in there, just a little bit on each one. Just kind of tops it off. Okay. Now this bag says 110 calories for a quarter of a cup, and I'm gonna take all this cheese off. It's probably close to a quarter of a cup, maybe just a little under a quarter of a cup. It's not a lot. I don't measure. I've been cooking so long, I just kind of know measure by pinching and just looking at it. But it's 110 calories, has 5 grams of saturated fat per quarter of a cup, 2 grams of carbohydrates. I try to keep the carbohydrates small. So when you get packages, read your nutritional facts on the back. Try to keep in mind how many calories you're getting and divide it down by 6 out of what you're doing. I try to keep track of the calories of what I'm sticking in my mouth. Now, this is my egg that I mix my seasonings in. And stir it up again. Give it a good little stir so it's all incorporated. Okay, now I'm gonna take this and I'm just gonna pour a little bit, just a little bit. Now, when you're pouring the egg, be careful because it will pull itself out of the container. So I just pour a little bit to begin with, and it will scoop down in between the cheese and the spinach and everything. But I try to just put, like I said, a little bit in there. Sometimes I use my fingers to push around. Go back. You want to try to get each one with egg. Don't try to fill it up to start with because you want to try to keep it measured out, you know, so that each one gets about the same amount. But you'll see it'll seep down in there, and then you'll start seeing the egg come to the top. Okay. There you go. There you go. It's all about the same. Now, there have been times, according to how big your egg is, as to how many you use. I have used 3 eggs. So it just depends on what the size of your eggs are. Looks like I probably could have used 3 this time because this one doesn't have a whole lot of egg in it. So I probably could have used another egg. I've had instances where I went back, got another egg, scrambled it up, put a few more seasonings in it, and made sure they were all good and topped off. Okay, now these are my Eggies. This is what I call them, as Eggies. Now I'm going to take these Eggies and I'm going to go right over here to my Gourmet air fryer. Okay, this is my Gourmet air fryer. I'm going to cut it on. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to hit bake because that's what I'm going to do. It says 325. Normally in my large oven I would cook it at 350, so I'm going to barely touch that. It goes up to 350. It says 30 minutes. It is not going to take 30 minutes, so I'm going to cut it down to about, I'll do 15 minutes, and then I may need to add a little bit of time. I'm going to hit start. Whoops. Did I start it? Yeah, it's on preheat right now, so I'm going to wait a few seconds and let it preheat. It normally doesn't take it long, but after it preheats, then I'm going to take and insert this. I just smeared that, didn't I? I'm going to take and insert my delicious Eggies. They are so good, and you'll see when they come out that they're nice and brown and beautiful and very fit. Okay, I did go back and add another egg, so that way it fills my cups up a little more. And so now I'm going to put it in here in the middle rack for about 15 minutes. Now it heated up, so I'm just going to add a couple more minutes on it, so it's got 15 minutes. Okay, we'll check back in a minute.